the Instagram Stories for Friday, August 1st. I'm your host, Daniel Hill, and this is the weekend edition of the Instagram Stories. Today on the show, there's a ton of TikTok news to get into. They've launched creator chat rooms, which are similar to broadcast channels and allow you to connect with the 300 most engaged followers that you have. Additionally, they've launched the Out of Phone program, where you will see TikTok videos out in the wild where you don't have to look at your phone, footnotes, which are similar to community notes, and more. Leah Haberman from the In Case You Missed It newsletter is going to stop by to share those updates with us. Additionally, Instagram has removed the ability to go live from accounts that have less than 1,000 followers. To tell us about that, Heston Roberts from Social Varsity is going to stop by to explain what that is about and why it matters. Additionally, Ashley Coffey and I will get into this week's AI news. We'll talk about a new report from Microsoft showing which jobs will be most impacted by AI and which jobs will be least impacted by AI. If you're thinking about what's next for your career, you're going to want to listen to that. All of this plus more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. There's a lot of TikTok news to get into. To tell us all of it, here's Leah Haberman from the In Case You Missed It newsletter.
Hey, this is Leah Haberman from In Case You Missed It, which is your weekly social media newsletter, cutting through the clutter and getting to the point as quickly as possible with all your platform and content format updates. There's a few TikTok updates that you need to know about this week. They have been busy over there at TikTok. They're rolling out footnotes, which is essentially like fact-checking community notes. They're expanding their Out of Phone program, which is kind of like a play on words from out of home. They've got partners like Curb, Westfield Malls. So you're going to see more TikTok videos in more places like taxis, the mall, for example. In Europe, TikTok is rolling out a separate, more positive European app called TikTok Pro. And then one of the things that I think is really important that we are not talking enough about is TikTok launched creator chat rooms. So creator chat rooms is like a group chat. It's for creators on the platform. It's for creators and up to 300 of their most engaged followers. There are some criteria for eligibility, like you have to have a minimum amount of followers. I think it's 10,000 followers and either a subscription or live fan club to get started. But the reason that this matters, or why I think it's so important, is, TikTokers have said previously that it is very hard to build a long-term relationships, to develop like trust and community on the platform. It tends to prioritize virality and discovery versus community. And so I think this is TikTok trying to reverse that trend, leaning into loyalty, community engagement, creating better relationships between TikTokers and their audience. I think it's super interesting, valuable for TikTokers. I think it's a huge opportunity for brands to get involved as well, sponsoring TikTok creator chat rooms or finding some way to kind of integrate themselves more naturally as a partner or as part of a creator partnership. To stay up to date on social media news, subscribe to In Case You Missed It from the link in Daniel's show notes. Follow me on LinkedIn, Threads, Instagram, anywhere, on social, Leah Haberman. And now back to Daniel for all your other social news.
Thanks so much, Leah. I really appreciate her point about how you could use creator chat rooms on TikTok to better engage with your followers, because a follow on TikTok really doesn't mean as much as it does on some other platforms. I say that because there are accounts that I have followed on TikTok and then I've never seen their content again because I spend so much time on the For You tab instead of the Following tab. Using creator chat rooms is a really good way to address that problem. Next, let's move on to the Instagram news. Historically, Instagram has allowed anyone to go live on Instagram, regardless of how many followers you had. Well, it seems that has now changed. Here is Heston Roberts from Social Varsity talking about this latest news.
Hey, I'm Heston Roberts from Social Varsity. You may have not only heard my voice before, but seen me on a previous podcast episode with Daniel, recently talking about ManyChat and DM automation, what's possible, why you should use it, and the best practices. Well, today I want to share a new change that Instagram has recently made, limiting live streaming, their feature better known as IG Live, to people with 1,000 followers or more. I was informed of this news by IG Live with Angela, a good friend of mine who also happens to be a live stream coach, and she was completely sideswiped by this news, as well as many others who utilize this feature often. Now, Although this change is in line with what TikTok requires for live streaming on their respective platform, this change comes among many others Instagram has quietly made to IG Live, including less in-app promotions of live sessions, removal of the names of guests who collab during a live, as well as the label that states that they are live on their profile photo on their actual profile page. After Adam Mosseri, head of Instagram, stated he had no news or updates to make about IG Lives when Brock Johnson asked him during an interview, I tend to believe that Instagram is preparing to do with IG Lives what they did with IGTV. Anybody remembers that feature? Exactly. This story was followed up by Social Media Today, but they've stated Instagram did not respond to any questions about the update. Hopefully, we get some answers soon. And hopefully, you also found this story insightful. If I may, please check out Daniel's podcast interview where we spoke in great detail about ManyChat and the concept of working smarter, not harder with DM automation. You can find me on Instagram at social.varsity. I've got an incredible brand new ManyChat template to help you grow, sell, and engage more on Instagram. Check out the links for everything I mentioned and more in the show notes.
Thanks so much, Heston. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ashley Coffey and I are going to dive into this week's AI news, and we're going to talk about Microsoft's recent report that they've released showing what jobs they think will be most impacted by AI versus least impacted. Stick around. Welcome back. Let's dive into this week's AI news. Let's move on to our last story. Microsoft releasing a list of jobs most and least likely to be replaced by AI. I think this is a really important topic because what jobs would you recommend to kids today who are graduating high school, entering college, leaving college, and not sure what to do next? I've struggled with that question, and I've been thinking about it a lot for myself. Where do I want to go career-wise? What makes sense to invest time and energy in that will still be relevant 5 years from now or 10 years from now? And the list that Microsoft gave, first, number one, is based on their conversations with Copilot and Copilot users. And second, only relate to large language models, only LLMs. So we're not talking about robotics or anything like that for these conversations. So the list of jobs that are most likely to not be needed going forward: interpreters and translators, other occupations like writing and editing, sales, customer service, programming, historians, writers and authors, brokerage clerks, political scientists, reporters and journalists, mathematicians, proofreaders, editors, PR specialists, and so on. They have a huge graph. We'll link to it in the show notes where you can check out the study. It's directly from Cornell University. Conversely, the least impacted occupations, and I think this is where it makes sense to at least invest time and energy researching if you're thinking of a career path or looking to change your career path. This, I think, is the key part. They think that occupations that require physically working with people would be least impacted. So nursing assistants, massage therapists. They also cite the category of operating or monitoring machinery. So like a water treatment plant or systems operator, a pile driver operator, truck or tractor operators, and other manual labor like dishwashers, roofers, maids, and housekeeping cleaners. Now, all of those things, again, are strictly based on how LLMs, large language models, will impact the workforce. We're not talking about robotics, right? I might say on this list, truck driver, that sounds good. Sounds like Microsoft doesn't think that job is going to be replaced anytime soon. Well, robotics could impact that down the line. It's unclear at this point. It's going to happen at some point, but when? So taking that Microsoft study with a grain of salt. Ashley, what do you think about this?
Thank you for pulling this. I think it's really important to talk about, but thank you for prefacing what their framework was for getting this data together. And it's important to remind everyone that it's framed on Copilot use, right? So just Microsoft. So here's what I think. I'm looking at this list here, and I can understand interpreters and translators. That's understandable. The clerking and the programming, completely understand that because those are things that could be automated. Where I see historians, writers, authors, and CNC tool programmers, it's a highly specific thing. Like to know how to use a CNC tool, what? So I'm very curious why they put that there. But proofreaders, editors, PR specialists, I think there's something that we're missing here. It's like that human in the loop aspect. Like, yes, it's going to replace some of this, but you're still going to need a person to double check its work before it goes live. So something to be said there is my thoughts. And it reminds me of that scene in Interstellar where, there's something in the school office and they're like, we don't need more scientists. We need more farmers. We need more food. That kind of reminds me of what I'm seeing here, kind of. What about you? What do you think?
I think the occupations that do require physically working with people are going to be safe for the immediate future, right? And I think home healthcare in general, that person-to-person interaction is going to be a key requirement. Physical therapy, I also think, is something that would be a person-to-person kind of interaction. So I think those are safe for the immediate future, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I think the world will look very different. So it's really hard to predict what jobs will still be critically important.
I think product managers are going to be incredibly important because you need to be able to talk between your dev team and the people that want to build the tool. Like I think that human aspect in the technology pipeline is very undervalued.
Are you saying that because I'm a product manager? Thank you. I feel very good about that.
And people don't realize how valuable that role is and how much of a unique skill set it requires to be able to bridge the gap between two different languages of two different people that have two different frames of thinking.
Yes, I'm glad to hear you say that because I have often been discouraged that AI will soon replace all the product managers. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I feel like you've got good job security. We're at least, I would say, 10 years out for an immediate term of any of that being potentially gone.
That makes me feel a lot better. I'm going to stop it there. If you would like to hear the rest of the news stories that Ashley Coffey and I cover in AI News that you should know about, you can find the rest of the podcast by getting there directly with the links in the show notes. As always, thank you for listening, and be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things that I think are important.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no wrist clap, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.